Hello, this is Ben Ryder from Agfa, and today we're looking at UV unwrapping. So what is UV unwrapping? Well, UV unwrapping is how we take these three-dimensional shapes and apply two-dimensional textures to them. Now, in the second scene, you were looking at how do I apply a material to, say, a sphere. So I've got a few that I've prepared here earlier that basically when you apply it to a sphere, it looks fine. And the reason it looks fine is because if we actually go up here to UV and UV editor, we can see that that's the UV map there. That's the sphere unwrapped as a two-dimensional shape. It's kind of like a stretched out globe. And so it takes on materials quite evenly. So that's the 2D texture underneath it there, and that's the map laid over the top of it. Unfortunately, not all shapes have a UV map like that. So for example, with a cube here, if we apply that exact same material to it, yeah, it's okay in some places, but there's also a few sort of hard seams like this one here where the tiles don't match up. And that's because, as a default, the way that it's unwrapped, if it comes up, just highlight that, is this shape here. So this is a cube as represented by a 2D shape, and as you see, it doesn't really cover the entire shape. So if I move this to the side and start moving this around, you'll start to see it moves the sort of textures on the shape there in rather very trippy sort of way. So we'd have to think about how to UV unwrap this in a better way in order to make sure that it has all of these textures looking even. And it gets worse the more sort of complicated the shapes get. So for example here, if we go into this and apply a material to it, we can see that it stretches out a lot here. It doesn't even look like tiles. And here on a cone, it's not much better. And then when we start getting to shapes like the ones that you would have made in scene number 1, where we're extruding and loop cutting and creating bridge tools, it looks absolutely horrific. And the reason for that is because it's still trying to use that original cube map that it had when it first started as a cube. So UV unwrapping is all about, okay, how do we make it so that this looks a little bit better? And there's a number of different tools we use. And the two ones we're going to look at mainly are going to be cylindrical and planar. So that's what I'm going to be looking at in each one of these. We're going to start off with a planar because it's really quite simple. Then we'll look at a planar and unfold. So how do we get it when it's facing two different directions? We'll then look at a cylindrical one. So how do we get it so it curves around when we have faces facing in all different directions? Then we'll look at a bit of planar cut and sew, and lastly a planar where we mark the seams and unfold it for what do we do when we're trying to use a cylindrical but it curves around a corner. So that's all the different things we're going to go through. Again, if you want to follow along, you can. If you want to just sort of soak it in, you can as well. If you're working on other scenes in the background, you can do that. All of these video recordings will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel and then linked into the glossary as well. But I know that there are a few people who are up to this point, so if you want to follow along, you can. So I'll just stop this recording here.